Host here, the LA Probate expert, and this is our probate weekly call every Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We also stream it live on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. And while I build myself, my website is the LA Probate expert. We have today with us a lady who is not only just an expert in probate, I guess she's the Orange County probate expert, Shadi Shaffer. And Shadi this is a repeat performance. We had her on a few months ago. So many people asked to have her come back on the call that right away scheduled to have her come back, and we worked it out to where both of our family lives could make that work. So Shadi Shaffer, welcome back to Probate Weekly.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for having me. I'm of course getting a tickle in my throat all of a sudden. I don't know why.
Okay, well, there you go. That's part of the excitement of having you. It's the way it goes. You know, it was funny when I first met her. She said to me, "Do you have a list of questions where you can ask me?" She, gave me a whole. Like an attorney, she wanted like the list of the interrogatories before she answered them. I said, Shadi, I've seen you before. I know I'm just gonna wind you up and let you go, and we're gonna have a great time together. So other than the tickle your throat there, feel free to get some water or whatever. Shadi,
warm welcome, Bill.
As she passes out from lack of oxygen.
That was the weirdest thing ever. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So Shadi, give us a little brief background, like who you are, where you're from, and then how you got into law and how you got to be here in this particular niche.
Oh, definitely. I was born in the Bronx. I won't go that far back, but the big picture is that I'm the first U.S. born child of immigrant parents. They left their country due to like religious persecution and reasons, and never looked back. Very proud Americans. And fast forward, I live in Orange County, and I was the first in my family to go to college, first to go to law school. Originally, I wanted to be like Aaron Brockovich, go against the big companies, taking advantage of the little people, and on environmental issues and other things. And about a year into law school, I actually came upon estate planning, and I'm very thankful for it. I'm sorry, I said a year into law school. I'm sorry, a year out of law school. I was practicing at a law firm, doing defense work on the insurance side, representing large hotels and doing a lot of auto defense. And I went, oh my goodness, why did I get into this? I can't stand this stuff. And I didn't really love what I was doing. And my day-to-day, I didn't feel like I was really helping and being of service. And I realized that was my true nature. And so I was very lucky to fall into estate planning. And then, as they say, the rest is history. So fast forward now, I think I'm in my 19th or 20th year. I'm losing track a little bit.
No way.
No way. I know. I'm like, what? Wait a minute.
Started when you were 13?
You're so sweet. 2022, officially, it'll be 20 years. And so I have my own law practice with my partner here in Irvine. Asset Protection Elder Law Center. We do serve clients all throughout the state of California. And I just decided when I started my practice, I wanted to be of service, help protect families, their businesses, their hard-earned assets from the probate court system, from the legal system, from all the expense. And, from 8 years ago, I decided to no longer do litigation. So I don't do interrogatories. I don't demand documents and things. So I think I'm sort of in this little bubble. I just kind of got out of that fight, if you will, and I try to help my clients avoid litigation and all that good stuff. So estate planning, probate, trust administration.
Got it. So let's start with the probate piece. So obviously probate is, I heard somebody told me that probate is when you file a lawsuit against yourself and eat up all the equity of your house.
I'm going to use that. That's very well said.
But unfortunately, when they have to do the probate, they come to you. So what's the most common case that you see of probate coming to you?
You know what? I just got one this morning, actually, from a realtor. I guess the broker referred her to me, and mom passed away just a couple of weeks ago, actually less than a week ago. And she didn't have a trust. She didn't have a will, and she has a property in California. So here we go. Honestly, if I'm being really blunt, trust attorneys love those calls because we make most of our money in probate, but I don't enjoy those calls because I don't want the family to have to go through probate. I had to sort of go through the whole process and explain to them that, you're not going to be able to do anything with this property for at least 4, 5, maybe as much as 6 months, depending on the court calendar. And I really don't like to have to share that. And then the expense, the public side of it is just all additive stressors and negative aspects to probate. You know, in California, we're the worst state in the entire country to go through our probate court system. That's another thing I'm very, embarrassed sometimes to mention. So probate is when someone's assets are not properly under a trust. The confusion is that some people, because in other states, it's different than California.
Right.
There are other states that are similar to California, but a will alone does not protect your assets from probate. Okay.
Biggest misconception by far, right?
Huge. Yes. It's a shame. Or, the kids calling and they're like, but I'm my mom's power of attorney. It's like, well,
yeah.
That doesn't work after mom's passed. Right.
Right.
So, I try to explain it like an umbrella or a bucket. Like your stuff has to go in this bucket. And then we create this trust plan that serves like as an umbrella protection over you and your assets. So it's not just about my assets, right? I tell people, pray you pass away swiftly, and then it becomes someone else's burden, right? But if I drive home tonight and I get slammed by a car and I'm in a coma,
God forbid.
I mean, have I put any instructions of how I want to be cared for? And you people think, oh, well, your husband will take care of you, or your spouse will take care of you, but that's not true. And, maybe that's not the best person for the job, right? You could be in a loveless 20-year marriage and they might want to kill you, your spouse. So, you might want to appoint your brother, your best friend, a parent as your agent for healthcare and finances and stuff. So the law says if you, Bill, don't put a plan in place yourself, we've got the plan for you. And it's the stand in line, pay a lot of money plan.
I call it the post office will handle your estate for you.
There you go.
They'd be glad to.
Even better said.
With the same ruthless efficiency of mailing a package to the post office, they'll handle all your most intimate financial details and health details. Don't worry. The state of California has it under control. I mean, it's not like the state's burning down or energy's running out or we're being overrun with homelessness. The state's very well run, right? They're going to run your state as well as they do the state.
Oh yeah, don't get me started.
I don't want to go there. Okay, so now you're in Orange County as opposed to LA. In general, my experience having grown up in Orange County and spent a lot of time there is that the county government there just seems to run a little more efficiently as far as your freeways are more organized, the streets and building seems to work a little better, and crime seems to be a little more under control than Los Angeles County. And I would imagine probate, I think LA is the biggest probate county in the country and just overrun. What's it like in Orange County as far as timelines during the COVID period? Are things still impacted? Are they caught up? Are they moving efficiently with video? How is the probate court in Orange County today?
I wouldn't say it's, first of all, thank you for the compliments. I just think that we're just more spread out, so it's easier to manage, if I can give my 2 cents on that. And a lot of people want to live in LA versus maybe in some of these other areas for a variety of reasons, who knows. But both of the courts, LA and Orange County, are equally as efficient. So I have probates in LA currently. You're like, yeah, I'm staying efficient, but you're not staying efficient. What I meant was they're the same in their process. Let me correct myself. Thank you. They're same more or less. I mean, every county differs a bit. I know in LA, some courtrooms and some judges allow online, some don't, so that's a little bit different. Over here, it's a little bit more uniform, I think, based on my, my recollection. I don't want to misstate anything, but, for the most part, you're still standing in line. You're not getting anything extra by having passed away in Orange County. So for those listening, you don't get to pick, I want to go to LA court or probate, or I want to go to Orange County probate. Your probate's determined based on the county that you die in, you pass away in. So that death certificate is going to sort of specify where you're going into probate court. But it is definitely easier. It's better. I've been down to the LA courthouse, and that is not as easy as going to the probate courthouse. So from a practical administrative standpoint, it is easier to manage things here. And yeah, of course, LA's got way too many cases on their dockets and files, but I know Orange County does as well. All of our courts are overwhelmed, whether you're in probate, family law court, criminal, civil, it's just everyone's backlogged. Right. And it's unfortunate. That's why the courts want everybody to manage their affairs, legal, financial dealings, everything. The courts don't want to see any of us. They want us to deal with the stuff outside of the courts.
Good point.
So,
You know, you're right. They want us, they really want you to handle things, and they'll make it easy if you get it done outside of the courtroom. But once it goes in the courtroom, it is going to be a problem. It's not pleasant. They don't want you there. I listen to other coaching companies in the real estate space that will say, oh yeah, go to the courthouse and find the clerk and be best friends with the clerk, invite them to lunch, bring them a little gift, ask them for help. I'm thinking, there's like bulletproof glass between you and the clerk in LA. You're never going to talk to that person. They're never going to give you their name. Just give them the paper, step back. You're never going to, but in other counties, I know in San Bernardino, as an agent who comes to my call once in a while, who went to court and had a matter, a court confirmation where the admin of the judge fills out the order, hands it to the judge, and the judge signs it right then when the case is over, and you walk out with a signed original. LA, that's weeks of it. It's rejected, redone, rejected, and done, right?
Same thing in Orange County, Bill, where I'm waiting by like the edge of my, chair for these orders. Actually, in one of my recent cases, they needed it for the close of a real estate transaction.
Of course.
And they actually went in person and they were allowed to get the order, but it is not an easy thing to get. And that is amazing. Maybe we should try to pass away in San Bernardino or something.
Before I pass, hold on 1 second. Yeah, that would be an interesting service you can have, like an ambulance. It just at the last moment picks you up and takes you to San Bernardino.
Throw me over there.
Save you money on your probate fees. So now in LA, and you see the same thing. So often probate, when they, not your cases, because you know what you're doing. One of the statistics I learned was when I pulled the data to start marketing probate cases in LA County, 95% of the cases are handled by an attorney who did one case in the last 12 months or less, meaning zero. And so 95% of the cases are done by attorneys who've not done one in a year, not done one during COVID, I guess, nowadays, not done one that was like the last one. They're all a little different, right? And it just seems that forever making little administrative mistakes that drag things out. That's why when I talk to people, I say, make sure you work with a probate attorney, not just the attorney you like or love or handled your DUI, your incorporation papers or something else. Is that the same thing you see with, I know you can't badmouth colleagues and I don't mean to go there, but you see the importance of having a specialist like you as opposed to a generalist.
100%. Look, I had a dear client of mine call me just the other day to review a lease agreement for a purchase of a business. Could I do it? I could, but should I know? So I just referred him to a business colleague of mine. Look, I think that when you stay in your lane and your specialty, you're giving your client your best and you're representing them at the best level possible. That's just a personal belief I have. My partner sometimes will say, well, can't you just look at this? Because he wants to tell his buddy, oh yeah, we'll do it for you. I'm like, don't do it. It's not worth it. There's like these little things that can come back to bite you in the butt. Yep. I won't get into that detail, but I learned that in my own life years ago with a cousin who had a collections issue, and they changed the law 1 year before and only in California, and I didn't know that, so I missed something, right? I am seeing this more, I have to say. I think perhaps when COVID happened and they made a shift over also to video appearances and whatnot, I feel maybe I'm finding out that some attorneys are like, oh, I'll do it. How difficult could it be? Probate's generally form-based, but I'm telling you, I was in court just 2 weeks ago, and the attorney was asking the judge, oh, well, what do I file next? And the judge went, excuse me, counsel, have you practiced probate? And, not really, Your Honor, this is my first go at it. She's like, well, this is not self-help. I'm not allowed to answer those questions for you, but she was actually very nice to him, considering most judges wouldn't even, give any guidance. And I think she showed what form or where to go or what to do. But I'm seeing that more often. Here's the thing. Can they figure it out? They can eventually, but what's going to happen is that case that should be settling in about 1.5 years, 2 years is now going to be 2.5, 3 years.
Unless out of the blue comes Mr. Air Nightmare, right? Unless out of the blue, the brother who was compliant all of a sudden flips and goes, no, it's your fault I haven't got paid yet. I'm going to file as an objector now, and I want to replace you. And now you have a classic litigation nightmare, right?
Oh, for sure. That's a whole different game changer. Absolutely. And it will definitely delay it by several years.
Now, as a result of you seeing what a mess probate can be and your practice doing probate filings and administration, you also, I think a big chunk of your business, maybe the majority, is avoiding probate using estate planning techniques and living trusts and such, correct?
Yes, correct.
So talk about that. I'm sure you must get the objection all day long. Wow, that's a lot of money to spend.
Yes, I do.
And you and I know that if you doubled your fee on estate planning, it's still way less than if it goes to probate. We know that. And we also know that if they needed the estate plan in place in, God forbid, time of a medical problem, they would easily pay your fee twice over and say thank you, but can't at that point. So how do you deal with that? If I sit down with you and you say, well, Bill, it's going to cost blank, and I fall to my chair, how do you explain the value that you're creating, which I see and you see every day?
Sure.
But they have to write a check to make that work.
Sure. That's a great question. The entry fee, I kind of make the analogy of Disneyland. It's expensive to get in, and then once you're in, it's even more money. Probate's the same way. So I've sort of generalized overall the just hard costs of probate, the entry filing fee, the publication fee, just the fees that anybody has to pay when they go into probate court is about $3,000. I mean, someone could crunch the numbers and say, that's really 2 to 3, but okay, let's just call it 3,000, right? Just to be safe. And so, look, I tell clients, you already are going to have to pay $3,000 minimum just to get in line in probate court. And then once you're in, the fees are based on the market value of the assets. In California, an average property is kind of, a decent property is easily could be $1 million. And now you're looking at another $31,000 minimum. That's just to the attorney, not the family member who's also the administrator. Right. You add those numbers up, you're looking at a minimum of $34,000, and you're assuming the family member's not going to charge their fee, which tax on another 31. Now you're at $65,000. So even someone that says, "Oh, I only have a dinky $300,000 property," well, you're still looking at least another $6,000 in legal fees. Absolutely. That's $10,000 right there.
That's if you can get it. That's if you can get it done. That's if you get it through the probate process in a timely manner. It's going to take a 1.5 years, 2 years without any fights, without any mistakes. Doesn't account the health and the medical directives and everything else that goes.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not just very great point. When you create a trust, you're not just avoiding probate. That's just one benefit of a trust. You're avoiding so many other things. Special needs issues. If you've got an adult child or loved one that's on housing or Medi-Cal or is a special needs disabled recipient on disability, you could protect that inheritance for them in the right way. That's a huge benefit. Now, someone might be listening saying, "Oh, everyone's healthy in my life," but your money might not go to your children till they're adults. Your adult child can have a stroke, can have an accident. You don't know. And then you're also giving it to them in a lot of other benefits, creditor protection, divorce protection. I mean, the list goes on and on. For children, who would want to hand a child at age 18 several hundreds of thousands of dollars, let alone $30,000, right? In a trust, you could leave that money for the benefit of the child with the trustee managing it. A trust avoids guardianship issues for people like me with minor children. A trust or a solid estate plan avoids issues when you're at the doctor, like you said, for your medical decisions. It helps people manage your burial and, or cremation arrangements. It avoids a conservatorship.
And it also lets you decide the burial arrangements rather than family members fighting
and it also
deciding
avoids the conservatorship.
We had a fight recently with a family member that went one way and another way. And
yes, exactly.
You said in passing also that I really never really detailed. Talk a little bit about the Medi-Cal clawback when you have probate versus a trust. What does that look like? What's a typical expense you've seen in probate where somebody had to pay back those fees?
Actually, in one of my cases, it was kind of shocking because the gentleman was actually a veteran, but he was in some kind of care facility. I don't know what all the details were, but the state sent us a $76,000 IOU bill. They knew we opened probate. They knew, we were stuck in court, right? We weren't going to run away. The family wasn't going to run away with the money. But can you believe this, Bill? They still filed a suit. And I was like, I remember I called the representative at the state agency and I said, wait a minute, we acknowledge that you're a creditor. We acknowledge that we're going to pay. Sorry, counsel, we have to do this to protect our interests. If we don't file the suit and a year passes, statute of limitations, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it was a crazy, crazy story. Now they've changed the rules a little bit on that. Interestingly enough, that's another benefit. If you put up assets in a trust, you're actually going to protect yourself more now from Medi-Cal attaching to it on the back end. I won't get into the details of that here because I think it's too much information, but there are some ways to protect an elderly parent or grandparent or elderly family member from the clawback from Medi-Cal by having a trust in place.
They could be 5, 10, 20, 50, $70,000. And I've seen, I think, even higher. So definitely another reason. Can you imagine you pass and if you're in the afterlife, you're looking up from heaven and your state gets a bill for $70,000 from the state of California? That would that'd be a bad day for me. If I was
that was a bad one because I think the total assets ended up being like 300 something. It wasn't a lot. So I just felt like, oh my gosh, can I make this go away? There's nothing I could do to make it go away. It was bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now you use the term estate planning, I noticed, in particular. Do you get into tax mitigation and tax avoidance strategies and planning, or do you work with accountants on that? Or how do you coordinate somebody who's got a lot of assets? What's your game plan for that?
Absolutely. We do an analysis. And I mean, right now, still currently, everyone's got that exemption amount that's really high. A married couple can pass 22 million and change to beneficiaries estate tax free. California.
Oh, 22 million. I thought it was only 20. Okay, that's good to know. I'm gonna make a note of that. I can pass 22 now. So 20. Okay.
And California still does not have any state specific death taxes. So anyone listening, do not ever vote. Please do not vote for California to pass something that says, yes, when I die, I want to pay a state specific death tax. Don't do
more
that.
Taxes.
Yeah, more taxes. Please, Lord, don't do that. But yeah, no, we do that analysis with our clients. And, it's like a building block. The estate plan is a foundational plan, and then you build other plans. Some people want asset protection. Some people want a life insurance trust to hold life insurance and monies. And then I just finished a revocable trust. Now I'm moving to the tax planning part of it with another client. So we look for those things during even that initial planning phase of just basic estate planning.
So I got a couple of questions in the chat box from Rama. He says, can you add international assets into a trust?
No, typically you can't. Now you can have an international trust, but you have to go to an attorney that does specifically international estate planning. Typically depending on where the person lives and some of the details of the assets, a lot of times we have a lot of clients that have a California, and then they do planning, let's say in France, or they'll do a plan in Germany, and they've got a plan there for the assets there. And then we try to kind of connect them a little bit.
I think it's my new goal, that I need asset protection in multiple countries. I think that would be a good standard to set. Right now, it's just United States. And it's 22 million, though, covers me so far. So I'm in good shape there. And another question we got was, can you explain the creditor protections of using a trust? Does that apply to a standard living trust, or only upon the death of the trust, or does it provide protections?
Okay, so that's a very good question. So let me clarify. When I, Shadi, create a trust for myself, if it's just a revocable trust, right? That type of trust is avoiding probate. That is typically what most people in California need. 90% of the public clients come through the door need just a revocable estate plan. I don't have creditor protection, right? So when I take this property and I put it in my trust, if I go and text someone and I'm not paying attention and I hurt them really bad, or God forbid they die because of my car accident, they could sue me just because that property is in that revocable trust. That is not, I don't personally have creditor protection. My reference to creditor protection was when I, Shadi, leave my boys money in my trust to them, how the attorney drafts it can provide my children creditor protection, so that when I die in the future, if my boys each get, let's say, $500,000 each from my trust because I've got a life insurance policy in there, the way I draft, the way that trust is drafted, if they've got a judgment or if they go hurt someone and the money's in the trust, we could actually protect it because it was mom's money that she gave the sons and not their own money sitting in their account, so that a creditor can attach to that. I hope that explains it.
Yeah.
There are more advanced planning type trusts where you, the person, can have creditor protection, but those are really high end. I mean, those are advanced a type trust that you have to get really good guidance on, and you don't get your cake and eat it too. So sometimes you lose control over that, right? So if I put my house in a trust where I want creditor protection, sometimes I'm not the trustee and I can't control this asset. That's a lot more detail that I think is not good to go into here at the moment.
It gets very particular and very specific. Yeah. Okay, good. So tell me a little bit about your business, if you don't mind. If it's personal, I always ask personal questions, so feel free to say next subject. Let's talk about building your business. I mean, you've been in business, you said, about 20 years, since you were 5 years old, and you're established, you're well known. It was easy to find you and kind of get some background. So I know you have a substantial practice and such. Are you still in a growth mode? And if so, what do you do to build your business, or are you more kind of just working out the business energy that you've created already?
I would say that finally I've got a lot of exponential, which I'm very thankful for. I think it's time to scale. I'm not going to lie. I think it's time to add more staff and sort of scale. It's a tough balance to strike, right? I don't want to lose that really good customer service and that boutique feel that I love. I don't really want a big firm, if you will, Bill. I want to have, a good small team of people that have the same value system as I do. So, I'm still growing. I'm very blessed that I'm still getting phone calls and business from existing clients, their family and friends. I've got a very strong and very blessed, I'm very humbled, Rolodex, if you will, of really good professionals who refer to me, CPAs, financial planners, realtors. I've got a few raging fans out there that just, when they hear trust or anything estate planning, they're like, call Shadi, which I'm very thankful for. I do refer a lot of business out to that I don't focus on, and I'm happy to make the referrals all the time. I'm even happy to, if someone's got a different budget and my firm doesn't meet their budget, rather than my trying to discount and do that stuff anymore, I just say, look, let me give you my guy's number, and you could get, if you want a $1,500 trust, here, call him, but there's some issues with that sometimes, so I have a very good track record for all my clients have avoided probate, and I'm very thankful for that, knock on wood.
Wow.
Yeah, so,
one of the most
don't
controversial
jinx me, universe. God.
One more thing. What was that?
I said, I hope the universe doesn't jinx me now that I just said that.
No, you put it out there, you're gonna get more of it. That's good. One of the things I say that I think I get a little trouble with attorneys on, just my professional opinion as a real estate agent and as a businessman observing probate court in LA County specifically, is that if you have a bad living trust, that's better than no living trust about 90 to 95% of the time. That you need to get something. Once you get it and get it done and deed your property, then go to your attorney and get a real one and get it done properly. But I literally this week had somebody call me where their sister, they prepared a living trust, never executed it, never deeded the properties, and now unfortunately the sister's in a coma. So none of the protections apply because they never signed the piece of paper and turned it in, never deeded the assets and put them in the trust. And I said, that's why, and she said, well, it was 3 months of meetings and phone calls and this and getting paperwork together. And I said, right, just get one done. And then from there, you can always restate it or do a new one. There's nothing.
You know what? I had someone that was going on a cross-country road trip. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to throw this out there because I don't want people calling me and expecting me to do trust within a week's time or 2 weeks' time. But, she came referred by a good colleague, and I just was like, I'll call her Sarah. I was like, you know what? We're going to get it done. If you're flexible and that we're going to have to revisit this and readjust and amend and restate the trust documents, I will get you covered immediately because I don't want you to get on that road trip and not be protected. So let's do this. And we did it.
And today people are so nervous. This way you really give them a sense of comfort knowing it's been done.
There's a security. Look, I tell people, you don't have to hire me, but you have to get this done. It's crazy not to
Yes.
have a trust.
I agree.
I mean,
I agree.
I kid you not. It's an important, I kind of see it as like, okay, I'm buying a home. I need property insurance. You have to have the basic stuff that you need to get. When you purchase a home or you have a business, estate planning should be like another thing that you just do. Health insurance, property insurance, business insurance, estate planning. Like it has to go. And I'm not saying that you need to necessarily, some people think, oh, I don't have a home, I don't need it. That's not true. A single mom or a single parent with a minor child with no assets, no bank account, no real estate, no business, actually needs a trust because they need to make sure they're protecting their child. And not only that, I'm going to assume they have life insurance, or if they don't, at least they should get that. And they should put the beneficiary of the life insurance as the trust. And boom, you've just fully protected your child and your extended family from not having all these legal issues when, God forbid, something happens to you.
True confession. I do this call every week. I talk about this issue every week. I tell everybody they have to have it. I wrote down my to-do list to buy my daughter's married, and literally as we speak, she's in the delivery room at Cedar Sinai expecting her first grandchild in the next couple hours. Right?
Congratulations.
And I told myself I was going to get a trust in place as a gift. I was going to buy one for them and just do a basic trust. And I was going to say to them, look, they're adults. They have money. They've done a really nice job. Just get this done. You can always get another one and keep me out of the details if you want. I don't want to get in your business, but I want you to have a basic one in place to protect your child from all the medical issues and guardianship issues and things like that. And I've told myself that for 3 or 4 months now, or I guess 8 months now, if you think about it, 8.5 months. And here we are, I still got it done. So it's one of those things you just got to get done and push through. So, okay. I'm publicly committed to getting it done. I'm going to hang up here today between Friday and Sunday. I'm going to get it done.
I'll email you separately on that, Bill. We'll talk.
Okay,
we'll make it happen. I'm going to make it happen kind of gal.
Good. Thank you. I know you are. I love that about you. Okay, a couple questions. What legal probate matters do you refer out? I think what you were saying, if I could just summarize, is because you work on these things, anything outside of that, while you have a license and you might have some background in it, you're not an expert in those fields, whatever it is. Am I right or wrong? Or is there a range of things that you would refer out?
Yeah, I do. I don't do conservatorships. I don't do guardianships. Actually, even though it says Asset Protection Elder Law Center, I don't focus on elder law, like financial elder abuse and things of that nature. So I do refer things out in that field that people think, well, wait, doesn't make sense. You should do it. I've just created sort of this little niche of what I do. I also don't take all probates. I used to be the yes girl and say yes to all cases, but after being in one for like 4 years and not even really getting paid on it, I've learned, once you get experience and knowledge and, I've just learned sort of to cut those types of issues, and I feel bad, but I always try to refer them out. I don't just say, sorry, we can't help you. Good luck to you. I really want to help. I really don't want to feel like that person. I don't want them to go call, try to go on Google and find someone. Why not I send them to 2 or 3 attorneys I know that I respect and I feel can do good work? I'm happy to do that for them. And at the very least that I do that.
Well, and then your heart comes to that's the reason I called you the first time, is because that's important to me. I see the challenge of being an attorney, especially in the old days when you had to go to court over and over again for some of those cases. It was a nightmare. But so when attorneys turned down a case, and I'd refer them to somebody, they would just turn them down. Like, well, and then they call me to tell me, hey, I can't handle it for this reason. I can appreciate they don't want the business for whatever reasons. But if you tell me, then I can try to maybe refer them somewhere else. But just to tell the customer no, like you say, you're sending them to Yelp or Google. What a nightmare that would be for somebody who doesn't know what to do. Next question, more complicated. So during the probate process,
I read it. I'm so sorry,
okay.
Bill. I read it. Can I just summarize really the question and then answer it?
Yeah.
Hopefully that'll help you.
Yeah.
So the question is, this person has an existing probate case. Their attorney subbed out of it, meaning they filed a document saying, I'm out of the case. You, client, now are in charge of the case. They're in pro per. The question was, do I have to start over again? Are there new filing fees, publication? No, you do not have to start over again. When an attorney subs out or subs in, you're going from the point in which that case got to. So hopefully that helps answer that person's question. But it's a tough world. I mean, it took me years to learn probate and to learn to do it efficiently. Everyone can learn anything, but whether, right? I could, I guess, change the oil of my car, but it could take me a lot of mistakes and a long time to do. So the question always becomes, time, versus money and so on and so forth. So, but good luck to you on that one. I don't know who that is exactly, but
you're talking to a guy who I don't even hang pictures in my house. I call my son-in-law. He does it for me. So I get, specialization and finding people, and he has all the tools and the box and the whole thing, and loves helping out. So contact info, we're going to put that into into the chat box here when we're done. Here's one. Is a trust only for an older person? Because myself, I put an LLC for my own properties. I have clients that put everything into a trust.
So LLC person, if something happens to you, no one has access to that LLC, legally speaking.
Right.
So that creates probate. So very awesome that you created an LLC and put your investment properties in there. That's great protection. It's a good structure legally, tax-wise. However, now you need an estate plan, and your trust attorney will assign the interest of the LLC into the trust, so that if something were to happen to you, your appointed trustee can manage the LLC, finish transactions under the LLC, pay the bill, pay the CPAs, and just manage the LLC, or sell the properties in the LLC to distribute, or transfer the LLC to your loved ones who you want the LLC to be ultimately transferred to.
So two different tools. LLC is a great tool for protecting yourself with investment properties. Trust, great tool for protecting your life and your medical issues and your finances and tax avoidance and things like that. And you probably need both. And I have a corporation for my business. The shares of my corporation are held by my trust. I don't, because in case something happens, it passes with everything else.
And it's not just for old people. No. Bad assumption.
Yeah.
Anyone over 18 that has a business, a home, any real estate, or any money over $166,000, that person can trigger probate. It could be an 18-year-old with a minor child. That parent has a duty to that child to have estate planning documents in place, so that if something happens to that parent, the family could step in and be the guardian of the child, and so on and so forth. Please don't let your children be left.
Well, the idea is Shady, right? Shadi, this is Alicia. So the question is, I don't have kids, okay? I'm in my 20s, and I do have own properties. However, like, how much is to open a trust, because is like with the LLC, everything adds up. So how much is to open a trust with the LLC combined, for one property? What are you looking at?
I mean, I'll just tell you what, you can find it as little as $1,500. If you found it for anything less than that, I would be a little concerned, to be honest. Unless you're doing it online or something, which I don't suggest. There's a lot of moving parts to creating an estate plan and making sure the LLC and the real estate is under the trust.
Shadi, it's like per year, $1,500 per year?
No.
It's a one-time fee, but that's the bottom pricing. In my office, our trust fees really toggle around $3,500 to $4,500.
So it's one-time fee.
Correct.
$2,500 to $4,500.
That's a good range. Yes.
For lifetime.
Correct. Well, yes. I mean, if you have changes in your trust, you need to update it. But a trust could last 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the laws changed, and so you might want to update it. I have clients who've had one for 5 years or 10 years. I'll say to them, you might want to call your attorney and just talk about, their changes, they affect you and your life as it changed. Have you added kids, and the law might affect you if you have kids, or now your kids were younger and now they're older. It may not be a big issue for you, but if you have another young child, it may be an important issue for you. So
do you mean how much, does it matter how much stuff you put in there, or just like for it to open?
No, that's just to create your trust. Alicia, you should be able to always just so let's say you create your trust, right, in 2021. And let's say in 2022, you buy 2 more properties. If you've got a good relationship with your trust attorney, there's really no need for them to be involved. You send your escrow, your certificate of trust, your legal documents, here's my trust, and they just put title automatically into your trust. Or in your case, you're going to keep putting more properties in your LLC. Once that initial trust plan is done and the LLC's assigned under the trust, you could put 10 properties in your LLC, out of your LLC, and you don't need to update your trust in that detail.
So basically, trust is above LLC.
yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, if you want to give it that kind of a,
Yeah, or you can have multiple LLCs all into a trust.
I
correct.
get it.
But
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I
no
got
matter how
it.
many LLCs, you still need a trust to protect you for other reasons, both the medical and personal and tax and all that. So
I get it. It's just all the assets. I get it.
yeah.
We're all Jewish, so we got it.
um, okay, so another question we have here in the chat box is this. Now I see this. If I could restate this, so from Crystal, my family's been in probate court since 2003 because LA County is trying to find beneficiaries. So I get questions like this all the time, and my first assumption is there's a breakdown of communication, and if there's an attorney, they're not doing the job of explaining things because that's just not really possible.
No, that to me is a very scary situation. If someone came to me and called and said, I have a probate since 2003, I would be like, something's wrong with this probate case. Somewhere,
It
something's
could be
wrong.
litigated for that long. I mean, there are things it could be, but it's not they're looking for a beneficiary. There's no way
Correct.
that's the case, right? I'm sure you've seen cases even older than that where there's 2 or 3 litigations and they're waiting for that to be resolved and it gets
Sure.
appealed. And that's a different animal. But this is a case where my point of this one is there's no way that's true, yet the customer or the client believes it's true because that's what their attorney told them. And I say, no, your attorney either isn't explaining it or they don't know what they're doing. One of those two is the case because it can't be looking for beneficiaries for 18 years. That's not possible.
And Bill, sometimes also lay people are confused about the process, right?
Yeah,
So
of
I've
course.
had a call like that. We looked into it and it wasn't even an open probate, right?
Right.
It shifted to, it's some type of administration under,
Right.
an appointed fiduciary and so on.
Okay. So Mark, regular, hey Mark, how you doing? I see a number of probates that in San Francisco Bay Area where the PR wants to represent the estate. It could be because of the high prices. The PR wants the money for the estate as a pro per. So they're not getting paid as an attorney in those cases. They're getting paid as the administrator executor, which the law provides for, right? In fact, the statutory limits are, I think, identical to what attorneys could get as far as the maximum. And as a recognition, there's work involved. Doesn't mean the court's going to give you that amount or approve it, right? So can you talk a little bit about when somebody who is a petitioner, whether executive administrator of an estate, can they get paid and how does that work?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. Okay, so when someone passes, there's always one person in the family, or at least they have to find one person in the family or someone that knows that person that passed, who steps forward to serve as the point guard, if you will, as the person in charge of that person's estate. Now, they can only become in charge if a court blesses them to do that. So if someone's got, some kind of bad history, track record, criminal record, credit score, a judge could say, I don't find you fit. But generally speaking, a family member will step forward of the decedent to serve as what's called the administrator. Sometimes it's referred to as the executor if there's a will. And so what happens is that person is entitled to get paid. They don't get to say what they want, like, oh, I want to get paid this much money. That is also set per code. And so the same statutory probate fees that I've been making reference to, like in that scenario where I said, oh, if the property is $1 million, it's based on the market value of the property, not Shadi's equity, right? My equity could be $200K. I could owe the bank $800,000 loan, but my property, if I sell it, it's $1 million. My probate fees are based on the market value. So on $1 million, it's $31,000. That's always my example because it's an easy one. So that representative would get $31,000 at the very end of the case. So a year and a half, 2 years later, when everyone's sort of getting their checks, $31,000 comes out of that pot, and then everyone gets their distribution. So don't forget, 31 to the representative, 31 to the attorney, and then the expenses, right? Filing fee, publication, bond, whatever, any other expenses, creditors, so on. And then the rest of the family, the beneficiaries would get paid out. The heirs of the estate would get paid out.
So Connie asked a question about self-service trust you can do online. Does that work? So I think, Shadi, you and I differ a little bit on this one because
Okay.
now look, if you're doing a lower price, and I hate to even bring that up because you're worth the full amount. But there are people who just are going to grind and grind and grind, and at the point where you're going to say it's too, you don't want to do it that cheaply, and they're not going to do anything. And I say to them, just get one, because $500 out of 5,000 in the fees or 3,500 fees, it's not that much, but you can get it day one. Get it done online. Now, sometimes they start online and realize how much work it is and realize they want an attorney to finish the job up. When I sell a house, I'll pay for my client to get a living trust. I'll say I'll either pay the online fee or that much towards your attorney's fees. So they can call an attorney and I'll pay the first $500 for a married couple to get it. Her question is, can she do it herself and record it? And I always say, well, if you're asking those questions, that's probably not the right service for you. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, if the question is, do I suggest online self-service? Look, at the end of the day, if someone's not going to hire a reputable, medium priced, expensive, whatever you want to call it, trust attorney. I mean, look, I decided in my firm years ago, I wanted to be sort of the consigliere for my clients, right? If you watch The Godfather, I'm not like a one-stop shop. I'm not a trust mill. I'm not like churning out trust. When my clients sit down with me, I'm looking at a lot of things, not just their estate plans. I talk to them about insurance. I talk to them about property insurance. I talk to them about their adult children. We do full-fledged, legal guidance for clients. So I've got a different model. I know it's not for everybody. So I'm pretty straightforward in my fee structure. I give it to them outright in front via email, so that I do that because if someone really is like, look, I'm not looking for a $3,000, $4,500 trust. I want a $2,000 trust. Or some people might be like, I had a guy I don't know, a couple months ago, he's like, I want a $950 trust. I'm like, definitely not us. Definitely not us. Like, these are your other options. Perhaps I'm not going to say anything about what the legitimacy is of those options. So my take is this: there's enough business. I'm not worried about it. I want the right fit for my firm, and I want it to be the right fit for that person. So if they have a lower budget, they should definitely look at other resources. We are not the option for them. My only takeaway is this: I've seen time and time again. I've got 3 probates. I want you to listen to this little thing. 3 probates, separate probates. They paid the attorney $1,500. I'm probating all 3. I mean, different attorneys, but I found, I was like, oh, I'm curious, and I'm not trying to badmouth attorneys. Look, the person that might be doing it for $1,500, this is what they're going to do. They're going to give you an amazing plan, a plan that works, but then they're going to do this. Well, for $1,500, you know what, Bill, I'll transfer your home, but the rest is on you.
Right.
And of course, at the moment, you're like, yeah, I could do it. I'm going to do it. Yay. Look, I'm a prime example of that. I got divorced in my life. Oh, I'm going to do it. Oh my God, that was the worst thing I did. And then I ended up hiring an attorney to finalize my divorce for me. Classic. So now you should see me. I'm hiring. I don't do it myself. I don't do criminal law. I don't do business. My dad needed something, I'm like, here, Dad, call my guy, and I paid for it. It's just not worth it. But I learned the hard way. And that's my 2 cents. Can you go online and do it? Yes. But please just take this, because this is really important. It has to be signed and notarized properly. Don't think a will can be notarized. It's not. You have to follow the law. And then this guy calls me like, oh, guide me. I'm like, I'm not going to guide you to do it on your own. I charge fees to do it. You know what I mean? So he did the will, but he notarized the will, Bill, and it was invalid. That was another one of my probate cases. The mother was devastated. Her daughter was a year old, husband died, and we're probating things. But making sure the documents are executed right under the law, under California law, is very important. And the other very important thing is transfer of the assets under the trust. Huge.
What percent of people, well, I'm just curious, what percent of people get a trust and don't put the assets in the trust? Unbelievable.
It exists. Those 3 cases all had trusts, but all the assets weren't in the 2 of them businesses weren't put in the trust. The other one, a financial account, wasn't put in the trust. Yeah. And here we are.
Happens all the time. It's amazing.
Happens all the time. It's a bummer.
And as realtors, we should be checking our clients and looking at the public record, because it is public record, is the property in trust or not? Because people deed it out to refinance or to sent to a family member or various reasons, and forget to put it back in the trust, boom, you just create a major legal problem, right? And I think the last thing I would say, to your benefit, Shadi, is this. Just like with me as a realtor, I get people call me on the phone, hey, I have to sell my house. It's a probate, it needs court approval, it's this and that. It's like something that I can really help them with. And say, well, yeah, but so-and-so can list the property for 1%. We do it for 1%. I said, look, you're coming to an expert because you need my expertise. This is what I charge. It's competitive. I charge the same price as many other, agents who aren't experts. There's always somebody who'll do it cheaper. The question is, are they as good as me or not? And if you think they are, then use them. And if you don't,
Yes.
that's my price. And I'm okay with it. And I'm busy. Like I sold 30 houses in the last 12 months. So,
Wow.
I love the job. I love what I do. I love small ones. I don't make it sound more than it is. But, I make a very good living. But I talk to a lot of people. I help a lot of people. And I know you're the same way. I know because I've talked to you. Because the last time, one time we were going to do a call and we delayed it because you had a client walk in and you gave him a consult you didn't charge for. I know that you do that because you care about people. And so either you want the value or you don't. And there's nothing wrong with saying no. And there's nothing wrong with the client choosing not to pay their fee. That's, in my book, that's their loss. They're not going to get the service. And the most important part of the puzzle when you go to Shadi for the living trust is Shadi. Of course, it's not the forms, the paperwork. If you could just do a living trust to make money, Amazon and Google would do all the living trusts, right? Why don't they do living trusts? Because they don't have Shadi on their team. They don't have other attorneys on their team to do the job.
Well, there's a lot of online options now, and
Sure.
the world's going to change. I've sat in a room of trust attorneys, in a conference mastermind, and they're worried about these online. And I'm sitting there saying, I'm not worried about it.
Right.
People that want or need online should use it, and those that
Right.
don't should use someone like me. I'm okay
Right.
with that. And by the way, I talk to my clients till I turn blue about realtors and paying their full fee realtors. That is like one of the biggest purchases of people's lives. It's a very stressful transaction, one that carries a lot of liability. When not done right, the effects is damaging. So it's like penny wise, pound foolish. That is an important analogy because it holds true. One of your listeners said, never discount good service. It's true. You get in life what you pay for.
Yeah.
But
do. And
I'm not going to ever dog someone for getting something for less. I mean, I would be like, good for you. You went and got your trust in place. I'm happy to hear that. That's wonderful.
well, I do feel like the attorneys are very focused on non-attorneys running businesses in the field. And I really wish they would spend the same energy on giving customers better service. And I think like in any business, if you're serving your customers' needs, then you don't have to worry about the competition. I love Redfin agents. They sell my listings. I don't care that they're paying their commissions or they're giving customers. I'm not going to go out and drive a buyer and show them 20 houses on a Sunday. I list the property and the Redfin agent does that. So it doesn't affect me, but there are agents around me whose business has been cut back because of the online real estate companies. And so your only option, and the reason I started down this path of probate was, your only option is to be so good that people need you. And if you're not that good, you're going to be vulnerable, whether you're an attorney or an accountant or a real estate agent or a mortgage broker. It doesn't matter. You're all the same. If you're the best, people will use you. If you're not the best, you're probably going to be in trouble, be replaced.
Yeah, very well said, Bill. I couldn't have said it better. I mean, honestly, we could all be replaced one day by robots, but at the end of the day, do you want to work with a robot or a human? I mean,
Yeah. Here's a question that I'm sure you must get regularly. I see it all the time is, do you do probate cases on contingency?
No, probate is, now if it's litigation, some attorneys do, but probate administration is not allowed to be done on contingency. It's based on the code.
But when somebody hires you to open a probate, how much of the money or fees do you need up front to start the process?
Oh, so actually,
if Bill, there's $1 million of real estate or $2 million of real estate and assets, and you verify all that, and you feel good about it, but they don't have a penny. There's a filing fee. There's publications.
Sure.
There's work to do. There's serving various beneficiaries and creditors and such. So the question is, how much cash do I need to give you up front to start the process?
In our firm, it's $3,000. I will share, and I mean, I probably shouldn't show this, but one of my
do please.
I have a probate case currently where the daughter didn't have a penny to her name and mom passed, and there's a dispute with brother. And anyways, I'm fronting the fees. I can't do that for all, bigger firms can do that. I tell my clients that when people hire me, I'm all about just educating them. I want the person that's going to be in front of me, that's my client, really have made an educated decision.
Right.
I don't, if they need another firm to carry that $3,000 cost, then I want them to have it. I really do. I mean that wholeheartedly. But I have done it on an occasion.
I will say that I have a inheritance advance company. I used to just refer out cases, and I found the companies would just turn my client down, and the client would be pissed, and then I had to pick up the pieces and take them somewhere else. So I started kind of brokering those, like a mortgage broker. I do the advanced inheritance work myself. So if you get a client that wants to use you and has assets, in the typical case, they have $1 million house, but they don't have $1, and you need $3,000 to cover your costs. We lend that. We'll lend them $10,000, give them some money for expenses and other things. So
Oh, that's
depending on the
great to know.
case,
Thank you, Phil.
especially with an attorney, we won't do it if there's no attorney involved, because we're not going to trust it's going to get done in a timely manner.
Yes.
Especially with an attorney that we know, my investors are glad to do it. So call me anytime that you need it, or anybody else on the call. Don't let not having money, if you have assets, get in the way of the problem. And especially if I'm an agent on the deal, I can make even a better deal on those fees and such. So, okay, well, look, Shadi, you're very generous for time, and we've got a lot of questions in already. We wrapped up your contact info. If somebody wanted to reach you, I have it online, but if somebody had a question about either a probate case that they wanted to investigate retaining you, or they want to sit with you and talk about estate planning and such, how would they reach you?
I will put the information right now in the chat if that helps.
Yeah.
You did put earlier Asset Protection and Elder Law Center, the website. So that's another way that they can reach me. Typically, email or phone is the ways that they could reach us. So hopefully that helps answer the question. I do have videos on YouTube. I've got some reviews on Yelp and stuff, but you are, I just really appreciate you, Bill. You really stand out from, there's a big sea out there of realtors. And like Bill said earlier, the idea is better customer service, really, setting ourselves apart. And this live stream service that you offer is an amazing asset. So thank you for having me on. I appreciate it just as much as you are so kind of appreciating me.
Well, yeah, really. It's just because I'm too tired to talk. So I know if I have you on, I can just sit back and watch and watch the camera go. No, you're a lot of fun. You have deep information because you're in this. And I think the most important thing that struck me was your heart's in this by helping people. The rest of your success kind of follows that. So thank you so much again for being on the call.
Thank you, Bill. I so appreciate that. I try my best. I'm not perfect, but I do try my best. So thank you.
You do it consistently, but thank you. Look, this will wrap up. Her contact info is below. If you don't have it, can't find it, text or email me. I'll be glad to put you guys together. She is a beacon of information for probate and trust administration in Orange County and in LA as well. If you have those that carry over, feel free to reach out. We do this is probateweekly.com. We do it every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. We record it, send it out on YouTube. And if you subscribe there, you'll get notified when we have new episodes. We do it every single week. So thank you so much for participating. I appreciate you guys, all the good questions. Thank you so much. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.